extend an invitation to the international community to support our fight for democracy. Firstly, we recognize the reservations of the international community in terms of direct physical intervention to stop the military systematic and targeted violence against the people of Myanmar and against the democratic forces. We are deeply concerned that if the Thermidor does not stop its present course of conduct, the situation inside the country will continue to deteriorate and will cause further human suffering. This would inevitably instigate economic instability and potentially leads to massive refugee outflows across Myanmar border and into the wider region.
Well, for more on this, let's bring in Azeem Ibrahim. He's the author of a book on the genocide of the Rohingya by the Myanmar military. He's also the director of the Newlines Institute for Strategy and Policy. He's joining us from Chicago. Azeem, good to have you with us. Now, more rhetoric today from the international community and calls for an arms embargo. Do you think it'll have any effect?
This is unlikely to have any effect, just beyond being symbolic. The reality is that the military have now painted themselves into a corner, and I see it's very difficult for them to get out of this. The situation and the violence just seems to be continuously escalating. We have over 600 people dead now, 3,000 arrested, and many of those killed are children that have been shot with long-range sniper rifles. So these are very deliberate kinds of killings that are used to terrify the population. And we also have a bizarre situation in which they're hunting down celebrities that have spoken out against the coup and endorsed the democratic government. And so we're in this situation in which the military does not seem to be backing down at all. And so the options for the international community are very limited.
They are limited indeed, and as you rightly point out, everything that's been happening against the protest movement has been well documented. It's been put right in front of us, and yet the military still seem to be acting in a brutal way. So what can be done to try and bring back the democratic movement in Myanmar?
Well, I think the arms embargo is certainly a welcome step, and this should be followed up with a cut to all the revenue that goes to the military, and that includes aid cuts, which are actually used by the military for other purposes. So all aid should be directed towards the civilian population without going through the actual junta itself. I think also what the international community should be doing is trying to encourage a counter coup amongst the military, because I would imagine that there's many people within the hierarchy of the military structure that are extremely unhappy with the way things have now developed. This military coup has been perpetuated simply by one individual, General Min Aung Hlaing, the army chief. And I think there'll be many people that want to see the back of him. And he did this principally to protect himself and his family wealth. And so one thing that the international community should look at is to encourage some sort of counter coup by giving immunity to many of those junior ranks within the military.
I mean, there's a danger in that, though, isn't there, Azeem, of a massive escalation? There are already protesters who are arming themselves, learning how to use military equipment. Are we on the verge, perhaps, of a civil war here?
Well, it seems that the trajectory at the moment of the Myanmar states seems to be going towards complete failure. Once revenue is cut off, once the junta is cut off from the international community, I just don't see how the country will not just collapse completely. So options are very limited, and there's also very urgent as well for the international community to take action. I do think, however, the proposal put forward by ASEAN is actually very interesting, particularly by Indonesia, which said, instead of asking for the military to reverse the coup and return the democratic government, what they said is that, the military said themselves that they would hold elections after 1 year. And so they're just holding them to account to that, to say, well, look, if you're going to hold election, we have to have election observers, we have to have monitors, etc. So allowing the military a way out, giving them a ladder to climb down and save face. So I think that's probably one of the most realistic proposals that I've come across from ASEAN.
We'll see if that has any effect. Azeem Ibrahim, we have to leave it there. Do appreciate your analysis. Thanks for being with us.